Epstein. Are we still talking about that guy? Epstein, the financier Epstein? I don't really know him. I used to know him a long time ago, but I kind of forgot. What's his first name again? Anyway, it's it's intensifying. It continues to intensify. The latest is that Donald Trump sent his former personal lawyer, who is now the assistant Attorney General, Todd Blanche, in to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, or as Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell. Sent Todd in to interview her, I guess, to get their story straight. And Donald Trump has not said it outright, but he keeps hinting at it, that he has got a pardon with her name on it. Of course he does, because if she acts right, then you might be getting out of there a little bit sooner than you think. So I mean, we're all speculating at this point, but it seems like if she just basically says, oh, I'm going to give you the dirt on everybody except for Donald Trump, and say, oh, well, Donald Trump was his friend, but he was never involved in any of this stuff, then she'll probably get out of jail. I mean, a week ago, I never thought that we would let her out of jail. By the way, she was tried and convicted and sentenced to 20 years for sexually abusing children and trafficking of children. We have all of those court documents that we could be going over, but nobody is allowed to look at those either. It's crazy. And of course, we've got Mike Johnson doing everything he can, including shutting down Congress. So, those pesky Democrats can't get a vote in, before we send them on recess. So I'm just going to send them on recess early. Anyway, we've got this one right here. Trump and Bondi have 100,000 pages of Epstein documents. But, that way they can make sure that they block out all the names. A bombshell report is revealed that there are at least 100,000 pages of the documents in Jeffrey Epstein. The shocking scale of the files increase pressure on the White House to release more evidence. Why don't you just release them? Well, we gotta go through it and make sure that there's, get rid of all that stuff that's not credible. Anything with my name on it, not credible. Let's see here. The shocking scale increased pressure on the White House to release more as President Trump comes under fire from his own supporters. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has only released 900 pages of evidence. That's the 900 pages that she's managed to, get the black magic marker, the Sharpie out and scratching out Trump's name on it, which is less than 1% of the total number of pages in her possession. Many of the declassified documents, which were released in March, were already publicly available. Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel orders hundreds of FBI personnel to be, so they took off, FBI agents who were working crimes and actually doing the job of the FBI, brought them all in so they could just sit down and read some fucking documents. That sounds like a really good use of the FBI's time. Diverted from their regular duties to go through the files, according to the New York Times. For months, they worked around the clock on at least 4 exhaustive reviews of the documents, underlining the extent of the panic behind the scenes. New York Times reports, oh, by the way, love this picture here. They look so happy together, all of them. Just the best of buds. The New York Times reports that hundreds of government officials were instructed to review the documents specifically for reference to Trump and record them in a database. The employees, or erase them from the database. Them things are gonesies, man. I guarantee you. Yeah, man, they're going through the files, man, and just... that one goes in the shredder, and that one goes in the shredder, and this one goes in the shredder. We can keep this one. It's got Bill Clinton's name on it. The employees were tasked with recording references to Trump and other celebrities, including Prince Andrew, former President Bill Clinton, in a Microsoft SharePoint collaborative file. Why don't you just do it on Adobe Plus? You did that with the cameras outside of Epstein's prison cell. Why don't you just use Adobe for that? I mean, you seem pretty good at it, right? Microsoft SharePoint collaborative file, raising questions about the project's digital security. Why don't you just do it on an Excel spreadsheet, man? On Wednesday, the Wall Street Journal reported Attorney General Pam Bondi alerted Trump that he was mentioned in the files. Being mentioned in the files does not mean that there's any incriminating evidence. No. Maybe this picture does, but being in the files doesn't mean it's incriminating. The chaotic search was underway from February to April, was described to the Times as rushed by document reviewers, indicating the intense pressure Trump was put under to fulfill his promise and clear his name. Although Pam Bondi alluded to an upcoming release of bombshell Epstein files in February, the Department of Justice and FBI released a July 6 memo stating otherwise. In the memo, we have already gone through this, but reports that 3 minutes were missing from the security footage of Epstein's suicide have fueled suspicions about the death and further distrust of the Trump administration's reports on Epstein. MAGA conspiracy ringleaders have claimed that the decision does not release any further documents is part of a massive cover-up. You don't say. Project to protect Trump, who was known to have been a longtime friend of Epstein. Just last Thursday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump sent him a lewd drawing of a naked woman to the convicted sex trafficker on Epstein's 50th birthday. Pam Bondi and Patel have been locked in an internal struggle, trying to figure out what to do to please Donald Trump. As the Trump administration desperately seeks a scapegoat, on February 7th, Bondi accused Patel of withholding thousands of documents against her. Now Bondi is caught in the crosshairs of the enraged MAGA. And by the way, Kash Patel's deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongio, he's been kind of a hit or miss lately, mostly miss, because he wants to maintain his followers on his own podcasting channel. That's where the real money is, not being an FBI director. Anyway, I don't know. You guys have probably seen this by now, but I am still just blown away by it. This is from the Midas Touch. Watch Jeffrey Epstein plead the 5th, the 6th, the 14th Amendment when asked if he and Donald Trump socialized with females under the age of 18 during a 2010 deposition. Question: have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump? What do you mean by personal? Let's just go ahead and play it.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th.
I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir. I mean, he had all of the amendments ready. All of them. Oh, my God, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. Tell me y'all didn't sleep with underage girls without telling me y'all didn't sleep with underage girls. Sure, bud. Whatever you say, cagey ass motherfucker. Now we've got Donald Trump has been pushing this whole, okay, let's see. First it was, I'm going to put sugar back in Coca-Cola. I'm going to arrest Barack Obama. I'm going to change the name of the Washington Commanders back to the Washington Redskins. I've got Tulsi Gabbard opening an investigation on Obama about Russiagate. Yet again, I mean, just dig up that corpse and just bring it out to the reporting public. Sure, man. But now it seems like we've got a lot of the MAGA media supporters out there really doing their job, running cover for the president. We've got this guy right here. I believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Anyway, the news reporter here is saying that, Ghislaine Maxwell, lots of jizz. She is now a victim. A woman who was convicted for 20 years for pedophilia and child sex trafficking is now the victim. I mean, who isn't a victim? I mean, Chuck Manson, let's just bring him in. He's a total victim, man. Jeffrey Dahmer, he's a victim. I mean, who hasn't been hungry?
She just might be a victim. She just might be. There was a rush to judgment. There was a lot of chaos there for a while. All right. Granted, she hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. And I know...
They just hung out. They just hung out. Honey, there have been witness testimony and victim testimony that she was not just procuring women for Jeffrey Epstein. She was in the bedroom doing stuff too. They were going double team, tag team on these young girls together. She was doing the molesting too. God damn. No, they hung out. It was a hangout, you know? It's like an after school function. They just hung, you know?
That's apparently not good.
Yeah, it's apparently not good. We got Charlie Kirk over here doing his damnedest to run the cover as well.
That her trial was unfair. Since she is still contesting her own case, that may impact what she is ready to tell prosecutors. But maybe some kind of a deal could be reached for information. We will...
The twitchiest man possible. You know, his face just doing all the twitchy things because I'm lying and I just have to do... My face is revolting against me. Every time I lie, my face contorts. I mean, that dude right there, first of all, not to pick on the way the guy looks, but let's just do it a little bit for funsies. The guy is suffering from big head, small face. But he's also got that twitchy thing. So big head, small face, twitchy thing. But anyway, there's also a little bit of...
contesting her own case that may impact what she is ready to tell prosecutors. But maybe some kind of a deal could be reached for information. We will...
Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General.
Deputy Attorney General, I'm over here doing a little car talk. Oh, man, doing a car talk. You like my goatee? Mom, my wife won't let me in the house. Wait a minute. My wife left me, but I'm still doing the car talk. I could do Trump's voice all day long. I have a hard time doing Alex Jones's voice. That shit just fucking scratches me up. But anyway.
With Ghislaine Maxwell over the last 2 days, she has sung like a canary and is getting ready to turn state evidence against Clinton, Bill Gates, the head of Harvard, and a bunch of other globalist financiers who literally were going to Epstein Island.
Oh, no, not the globalists again. The goddamn globalists. Oh, man, they're turning the frogs gay. They're going to put us in hobbit homes.
Sometimes living at Epstein's lair in New York and so much more. So the Democrats pushing Trump on this and trying to connect him to all of this has massively backfired. And I've been saying for 20 plus days since this all broke, Trump needs to lean into this and order everything released. And that's all starting. Democrat judges all over the country, Florida, New York, are trying to block the release of the Epstein files now. So Trump has called their bluff. I've done deep research on this, never seen any real connections, anything illegal with Trump and Epstein.
All of his research, he hasn't seen anything illegal. You know, all of his extensive research of what? Looking on fucking Facebook, you know, going down a 4chan rabbit hole. That's his research. He hasn't seen anything. I mean, much less the last 3 weeks of this obvious fucking cover up. Obvious. This is obvious as the fucking goatee on this douchebag's face. No, I haven't seen anything. They're all getting on the talking point. Is there another one?
Everybody's been calling for more transparency.
Benny Johnson doing it a car talk himself. Oh my God. I love it, man. Everybody's doing a car talk.
This is what transparency looks like. And whether you like it or not, Ghislaine Maxwell coming forward and then testifying on behalf of what she knows is what we have been calling for.
She has every incentive to lie, to get out. Look, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in courtroom or something, but when a person is trying to get a plea deal, it's generally before they get sentenced to go to jail. So she could have coughed up any bit of information so she didn't have to go to jail, but she did not do that at the time. But now she's going to sing like a canary against Bill Clinton and the globalists and Bill Gates and all those guys, you know, they're all hooked up with a globalist, which is code for Jew. Every time you hear one of these guys go globalist, they're talking about Jews. But, yeah, man, she wasn't involved at all, man. She's an innocent bystander.
This channel.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah, indeed. Oh my God, indeed. Here is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne. Couldn't decide on which name to name him, so they named them both and stuck them together. Mark Wayne Mullen. He's got this little short king here. He's got short guy's energy, and he's being asked about the fact that that Mike Johnson shut down the vote. They had tried to get these files released several times. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie have tried several times to get these files out, and every time Mike Johnson just, we're gonna stop it down. I gotta go home and pick up my kid. I got a notification on my phone that he's looking at porn. I got to get out of here.
Just a resolution. It's not binding. Yeah, it's not binding because this clear separation of powers here between legislative and judicial. The court still has to move forward. So President Trump, even though he's president of the United States, is executive branch.
We got to follow by the rules. Although we never follow by the rules when it's something we actually want to do. But when something that we can't, we just can't do it because, the big dog will come after us. We just can't do it. We got to follow the rules. Got to let the courts, do their thing. Every time Donald Trump wants to, break the fucking Constitution and lock up somebody in a goddamn concentration camp, he pays the judge no, never mind. But no, this, we got to follow the judge's orders.
They cannot force the judges to release this. You saw the judge in Florida came out and said, no. Well, before we can get our hands on it, the judges have to agree to it. And I think by Pam Bondi calling on them and the president calling on them, and then us here in Congress calling on them to release the information, hopefully the judges will see it different. But until they do, that judge sitting over that case that oversaw the grand jury, as you guys know, the grand juries are pretty tight-lipped. Most of the time they don't release that information. That's all our resolution does is say...
So we can't release any of the grand jury information. We can't release any of the court documents about Ghislaine Maxwell. We can't release anything, and we're going to interview her in private, not in front of a Senate committee where they would be able to question her, or a House committee where they would be able to question her. We're going to do this behind closed doors to make sure we get our fucking story straight. We got to tell the story right. So they'll get it all lined up in the back room and then march her out there, and she'll be like, oh, it was just Bill Clinton. It was just Bill Gates. It was all the Bills, none of the Dons. We got Ro Khanna here and Thomas Massie on Meet the Press, and they're giving their reasons why they want this information out.
No, not at all. Look, the release of the Epstein files is emblematic of what Trump ran for and why he got the populist vote. There seems to be a class of people beyond the law, beyond the judicial system.
You don't say.
That operates outside of all of that. And we all thought that when Trump was elected, he would be the bull in the china shop and that he would break that up and bring transparency.
You really thought that?
Frankly, it wasn't until just recently that I realized that people who were allegedly working on this weren't sincere in their efforts.
No.
And also, politics is the art of the doable. There's enough public pressure right now that we can get 218 votes and force this to a vote on the floor. Somebody should ask.
Not if Mike's got something to say about it. Mike, get your short ass out there and do something about it.
Mike Johnson, why did he recess Congress early?
That's a good
so
question.
that he didn't have to deal with the Epstein issue? He can bring this to the floor at any point, yet he's chosen to send us home early for August recess.
Yeah, so let's just, she interviews these two guys, and then she interviews Mike Johnson. Let's see what old Mike has got to say for himself. I am surprised there is not a hand up his, because he looks like a fucking puppet. This guy looks like a goddamn puppet. He's just waiting to be activated. Donald Trump, his hand is all the way up his ass, working his mouth. But she goes right, and she asks him immediately, and, every time you hear a politician go, let me be clear, prepare yourself for a big old pile of shit. Let me be perfectly honest. Let me be clear. Let me be frank. Let me be honest. Okay, I'm about to hear a lie.
Question, why did you adjourn the House early, and does it run the risk of feeding the perception that there's something to hide in the Epstein matter?
Look, these are all important questions. Let me be absolutely clear, as we have been from the very beginning. House Republicans insist upon the release of all credible evidence and information related to Epstein in any way.
There it is, that word again. I love it. It's called credible. All the credible information. So anything that's got to do with Donald Trump, that's not credible. But anything that's got to do with all of the other ones, yeah, that's perfectly credible. So we're going to separate the wheat from the chaff, man. We're going to get rid of all of the non-credible stuff. We're going to slow that shit off, man. We got to get that worked out with old Ghislaine Maxwell. And once we do, then we'll release all of the credible stuff. Yeah, man. Tell me about it.
But we are also insisting upon the protection of innocent victims. And our concern is that the Massey and Khanna discharge petition is reckless in the way that it is drafted and presented. It does not adequately include those protections. And I can
Shut up! Nobody wants to see video of young children. You can cross out their names all the livelong day. You can blur out their faces in any of the videos, and you know it. You are using this as a bullshit excuse. It is bullshit, and you know this.
all the details of that. The important thing on the timing, to answer that question first, is that we did not do anything to end the term of Congress early. The Massey Khanna discharge petition was filed so that it would not ripen until a day after Congress had
It wouldn't ripen. You know how I like those young ones? I like them nice and young and ripe. Ripe right off the vine. I like picking them right off the vine. Well, I got a question for you there, Mike. Why not extend the congressional session for one more day? You could have a vote on this at any time. You could have a vote on this today. You could do that, but you're not going to because you're too busy making excuses. Do you have a full book of excuses, or do you have like a tome? Is it really thick? A thick stack of excuses. You've only gotten through the first 10 pages of the book of excuses.
Been scheduled for almost a year to be out of session and in the district work period for August, and that is the timing of it. So what we did do this week is end the chaos in the Rules Committee because the Democrats are trying to use this in a shameless manner for political purpose.
Oh, okay. So if Joe Biden or Barack Obama or any Democratic president was doing what Donald Trump is doing, obfuscating, taking all his sweet time, blocking every motion possible, do you think for one fucking second the Republican Party and Fox News' hair would not be on fucking fire, screaming to the rooftops? They're blocking this stuff. They're hiding something. I want to see the files. But Donald Trump, oh, no, they're using this for political purposes. We in the Republican Party, we never do anything political like that. Nah, man, we never investigated Hunter Biden's laptop and his big fucking hog for 4 goddamn years. We didn't do anything politically motivated like that. No, we would never do that. We're all about serving the people. Right, Mike? Right?
Quite obviously, they hijacked the Rules Committee and they tried to turn it into an Epstein hearing. That's not what the
They hijacked him with Hamas. They're using it as a human shield.
Is about. So that's why the floor votes ended on Wednesday instead of Thursday. But the work of Congress continues, and the schedule of Congress was published well over a year ago, December of 2024. So none of this was a surprise. And Khanna and Massey could have brought their discharge petition a day earlier and prevented that, or
that's all it would have taken if they'd just shown up a day earlier. But now, it's too late. And even though I'm the Speaker of the House and can, have a floor vote anytime I want to, it's just too late. I'm sorry, it's just too late. We don't need to hear any more of this bullshit because it's fucking bullshit. I mean, here he is again saying basically the same shit.
Should understand the necessity of that. It is the standard. I used to be a litigator. It's the standard in the court of law and the courts. It's the standard in law enforcement. Anyone who's served in law enforcement understands the necessity of that. It is the standard with government agencies. We protect the innocent. So we cannot be careless in an open release like that. You have to be very careful. The president himself has said that he wants maximum transparency and all credible evidence to be.
Oh, there it is, man. The credible evidence again. Okay. It's the same old shit. This dude right here is, he's some fucking multi-millionaire douche canoe from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. God damn, man, this guy, he's a complete imbecile, but he is all about, loving him some Donald Trump, and he is acting like the right-wing heel on this particular program on CNN, and he is running cover for the big dog.
The average person at the kitchen table is not worrying about Epstein. Don't give a damn. They want to provide for their family, and they are. America's working.
So
this is the American.
So hold on. Let me just say,
working.
Jerome Powell just announced that he's going to hold off on cutting interest rates again
Who
because
cares?
of the tariffs, and we've already started to see the inflationary pressures.
We have a lot
associated
more
with
on the
tariffs.
economy later in the show, but just one thing that you said, Kevin, that I think is.
Epstein's alive?
No. There are two aspects of it. I mean, I think on the one hand, I think you're right that it's kind of like a niche interest here, this Epstein thing, but the niche is Trump's base. People in Trump's base.
I mean, that is a valid point. Look, I'm a Democrat. Actually, I'm a lefty. And look, we've all known about Bill Clinton, being on the Lolita Express, but we also knew that Donald Trump was on it. But for some reason, propaganda, none of the MAGA base was privy to the Donald Trump stuff. Because Donald Trump, I mean, he was doing campaign speeches where he's out there, Bill Clinton said he was only on the plane 4 times, but I saw the files and he was on the plane 27 times. 27 times? What's he hiding, folks? So he was actually using that in his campaign speeches to, to push some blame off on Democrats and get it away from himself. But he has used this in his campaign rhetoric for years, for fucking years. So his people are the ones that are primed for this. We would look at it and go, yeah, motherfucker, but you're in the files too. You're in the files, but MAGA didn't know that. Now, all of a sudden, MAGA's like, wait a minute. It seems like Trump is hiding some shit. Now, I'm sure eventually they will be brought back into the fold because ultimately their main point is let's get rid of brown people and let's make liberals cry and make sure that trans people don't exist. And that's enough for me. I don't care if they cut my health care. I don't care if they put tariffs on everything and all the cost of all of my goods go up. If you're making liberals cry, that makes me happy. But at the moment, the Epstein thing is still troubling them. They still haven't been able to square that circle. So yeah, it's the MAGA base that's concerned about this. It ain't us. I'm just enjoying watching the Republicans flounder, watching, people like this guy here, excuse me, or Mike Johnson go, oh, wow, we could do it, but, it's just like a day too late and stuff and things. And, we really want to release it, but, it's just, rules and such, just get in the way and we just can't do it. So why don't you just get all the way off my back about that?
But secondly, on the broader picture of what is happening in the country and how do Americans feel about it, CBS YouGov poll asked, how do you think things are going here in this country? 61% said very or somewhat badly. That's not exactly a great indictment of the Trump economy.
Yeah, well, don't get me started on how they feel about Democrats. It's even worse because Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are some weak little bitches. How can this guy who is fucking up everything still be outpolling them? Sorry, I digress. But Wall Street Journal, Justice Department told Donald Trump in May that his name was among the many in the Epstein file. I just find that funny. He knew. She whispered in his ear. Here's Chucky the Shooms. Let me be clear, Trump's sending his personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, to the meet with Ghislaine Maxwell stinks of high corruption and conflict of interest. I talked to my friends, the Baileys, about it, and they told me they didn't like it none too much. But here I am, with all of the charisma of a rock, telling you that this stinks of high corruption. And if we allow this to happen, Are you telling me that it already happened? Oh my God, it already happened. While I was sleeping? Oh my God, somebody get me an Ambien. Let's go back to the golden oldie. Just for funsies. This is Prince Andrew being questioned on the BBC. You know, this is the infamous... You have to understand that, the story that Virginia Giuffre tells about me being on the dance floor and being very sweaty, it is impossible, you see, because at that moment in time, I had an injury from my time in the Falkland Islands where I lost my ability to sweat, you see, and unfortunately, it can't be true that I was sweating all over that beautiful young woman because my sweat glands did not work at that moment.
Who advised you then that it was a good idea to go and break up the friendship? Did that come from the palace? Was Her Majesty the Queen involved?
No, yeah, by the way, he instead of just not hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein anymore, because this is 2010. Jeffrey Epstein went to jail for, he got that sweetheart deal from Acosta, Trump's labor secretary, back in 2006, 2007. So he only had to go to jail for for the evenings, and then he'd get to check out every day and go to work. And on the weekends, he'd get to check out, and go home. He's the only prisoner who only had to stay at jail like it was a hotel. But this interview happened after he's talking about an incident that happened in 2010 after the whole jailing of Jeffrey Epstein and all the information came out. So she's asking him, why didn't you just not hang out with him anymore? If you wanted to, quote unquote, break up with him, break up with your best bud, but I really liked him. He was so sweet to me. He was really nice to me. But, we had to break up, and I didn't feel like I should, do it over the phone because that wouldn't be fair. I needed to man up and do it in person, So this is his excuse behind that.
So there were a number of people who so some people from my staff, some people from friends and family I was talking to, and I took the decision that I had to show leadership, and I had to go and see him, and I had to tell him, that's it.
That was December of 2010.
Yep.
He threw a party to celebrate his release, and you were invited as the guest of honour.
Oh, in 2010?
For somebody whose sweat glands don't work, I guess he had a surgery to get them fixed, because Big Dog here is sweating his ass off right now. Take off that jacket. Let me see them pits.
Certainly wasn't a party to celebrate his release in December, because it was a small dinner party. There were only...
Wait a minute. You just said I wasn't there. Now it's a small dinner party where you were the guest of honor.
I think at the dinner. If there was a party, then I'd know nothing about that.
You were invited to that dinner as a guest of honour?
Well, I was there, so there was a dinner. I don't think it was quite as you might put it, but yeah, okay. I was there at a dinner. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm just trying to work this out.
The worst liar.
You said you went to break up the relationship, and yet you stayed at that New York mansion several days. I'm wondering how long.
But I was doing a number of other things while I was...
I was really trying to, but I had to wait for the right moment. So I needed to stay over the weekend. And, there was really no other place to stay. It is New York City after all. And I know that they have lots of hotel rooms, but, none quite as luxurious as my delicate ass. I needed 1,000 thread count sheets in my bed, and Jeffrey has the best sheets, so I needed to stay there. There's no other place. There's no more room at the inn. You have to understand that I needed to wait for the right moment. I just couldn't just show up there out of the blue and just break up with him. I needed to at least have a meal or two, or a weekend of just like a long goodbye, if you will.
But you were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay. I've gone through this in my mind so many times. At the end of the day, with the benefit of all the hindsight that one could have, it was definitely the wrong thing to do. But at the time, I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. And admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable, but that's
that's one of my favorite lies. It's like, I mean, when you go in for a job interview and they say, "Can you tell me one of your greatest faults?" And it's like, "Oh, let me think about that. My greatest fault is that I'm too loyal, or my greatest fault is that I work too hard, or my greatest fault is my brutal honesty." I'm just too honorable. I tell you, I'm too honorable. I should have just made a phone call. I should have just gone in there and told him, "Jeffrey, you're a bad, bad man, and I need a spanking. Do you have a young girl?"
Time, those few days, witnesses say they saw many young girls coming and going at the time. There is video footage of Epstein accompanied by young girls, and you were there staying in his house, catching up with friends.
I mean, if they were, then I wasn't a party to any of that. I never saw them. I mean,
it was over the pants stuff, I promise.
You have to understand that his house. Yeah. I described it more as almost as a railway.
But you have to understand my sweat glands.
If you know what I mean, in the sense that there were people coming in and out of that house all the time.
I was in the back room.
What they were doing and why they were there, I had nothing to do with. So I'm afraid I can't make any comment on that because I really don't know.
Another guest was John Brockman.
Anyway, that right there, that interview, it is totally worth a watch if you haven't seen it in a while. Just an examination of a piss poor liar. Excuse me. There's one more thing I'd like to show you. If I get my cursor to work. Take a trip back down memory lane with me. This is Amy Robach. She was an ABC reporter, and this happened a while ago. But she was reminiscing about the time where she was desperately trying to get out all this Epstein information, but for some reason, her higher ups, her bosses, were like, I don't know if we should talk about that stuff.
This interview with Virginia Roberts, we would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed this.
Yeah, if we talk about Prince Andrew, then, Kate and William wouldn't allow us access. So the bosses said, Epstein, seems like a boring story. Let's not talk about that. Let's move on to bigger and better things, like, what kind of dress Kate is wearing, or, how long has Will been bald?
Right. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because
I totally kept my pants on. It was just the underwear. She just gave him a massage. No penis came out. She didn't touch anything. I didn't even ask her how old she was. I have no idea what you're talking about. Donald Trump wasn't there at all, I promise.
She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking...
By the way, it came out for a little bit, and then it got shut down yet again. So... the irony of all of this is that she is complaining that she had the story about Epstein way back in the day and that now it's all coming out, but it was shut down again. And here it is out yet again for the umpteenth time, and it's yet again being shut down. Look, I have no doubt that this implicates a fuck ton of really, really wealthy people. And when Epstein died mysteriously in prison, I was like, Yeah, man, that makes all the sense in the world, because it ain't just Trump, even though Trump was president at the time. And Trump has got the most to lose over this, especially considering he is the leader of the free world, and he is all over them goddamn documents that he's doing everything he can to scrub his name off of. You know, got Pam Blundy on it. On the case, she's got an eraser and a Sharpie. I've got a whole stack of Sharpies. You get to work, Pam. But, there are so many people that are implicated in this. I have no doubt that everybody's got a vested interest into locking this shit down. This is one of the biggest cover-ups I have ever seen in my life. So many wealthy, powerful people are implicated in this. I mean, I did a story last week about over 4,000 wire transfers to one JP Morgan bank account of Jeffrey Epstein, totaling $1.1 billion of payments from like 4,500 wire transfers. That's 4,500 people sending Jeffrey money for something. For something. Oh, we don't know what it is, but we got a good idea, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of people that are implicated in this that definitely don't want to have their name out. And, you know, every time it starts to rear its ugly head, it gets shut down.
All of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, it was what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Yep. Oh my God, man. This story is the story that just keeps giving. It just keeps giving. Mostly because the powers that be will not let it out. You know, and that's the problem with the truth, man. It has a knack of getting the fuck out. It really wants to get out. It does not like to be locked down. And there's so many people involved. It's going to be impossible for it not to come out. Now, what also is possible is that propaganda works very well, especially on the, people that don't want to know, or the uneducated people, or people that like to be kept in the dark. And, most of MAGA still loves their Donald Trump. And, if he tells them a good enough porky pie, they will believe it. So, I have no doubt that eventually this will all go away yet again. But there are plenty of, look, the Democrats, they're already against Donald Trump. They hate the guy. I'm one of them. But none of them believes this bullshit. None of them do. And the Republicans are the exact opposite. Most of his MAGA base is still on his side. There are a handful that are questioning it, going, I don't understand why he's blocking this. I thought he wanted to save the children. But those people are few and far between. The people that are being mostly affected by this are independents. Independents have shifted considerably. They are seeing this. And I'd say the majority of I don't want to say if it's the majority, but a very large percentage of the voting public is independent. And a lot of those people voted for Trump back in 2024. Now they're starting to see this and they're like, oh my God, this is looking really bad. It looks so goddamn obvious. Anyway, yet again, the story that keeps on giving. I will continue to report on it as it comes out. Drip, drip, drip. Lots of people are on the case. Don't know where it's going to lead, but it sure is interesting. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.